Tell me, are you afraid of the dark? Do you believe in the things that can go bump in the night? The things that you see out of the corner of your eye, the things that flicker at the edges of your vision? Do you believe that we're not alone? Well, hear my tale, a true tale, something that really happened many years ago, but true nonetheless. I had skipped school because, of course, I had. And me and this girl Janice I knew, we decided to go someplace different, someplace she had heard of that I never had. Well, where we were was at this old house. Now, you had to drive over a ditch to get to this house. It was not easily accessible. It was someplace slightly off the beaten path. An old gate, rusted shut. You couldn't drive, so you had to walk. Walk we did. We walked to this old house. Janice called it the party house. Apparently kids would have parties there, although I can't imagine those ever went well. So on this bright spring day, when it was swelteringly hot outside, Janice and I entered this property, and the house loomed before us. It wasn't a big house. It was actually rather small. It had a ground floor and an upper floor that was kind of like a balcony, only reachable by an elevator that was no longer there. Just this spindly metal shaft on the side of the building. You could climb up it easy enough. It wasn't far, just a story up. So we went, Janice and I, into this house. And at first, everything was fine, at least for her. Me, everything was wrong to me. When I walked in the backyard where there was overgrown grasses and trees and hulks of abandoned appliances, all those appliances kept shifting in my view and changing into other things. Haunted things, terrible, terrible things. But I brushed it off. It was a bright spring day after all. Nothing could get to us. So up we went into the house, where we found a pentagram painted on the big wall. It seemed to flicker and shimmer in the light. Janice didn't see that, but I did. And I thought, well, it must just be a trick of the sun. And she's just teasing me. She's just fooling about not being able to see anything. But was she? As we walked through this creepy, creepy building with no windows and broken down doors, no real fixtures anywhere at all, but so many other objects. There was discarded clothing that seemed like it had gone back for years. It looked like it hadn't been touched in decades. Well, we climbed up that scaffolding and onto that balcony floor, and all around were discarded clothes. And it was so strange. When we walked in, Janice stepped in something she didn't see, but I did. It was the body of a dog, horribly dismembered. I could smell the meat. I could hear the buzzing of the flies, but she stepped right into it like it wasn't there. It had been in a circle in this room that even she saw. This thing charred into the decaying carpet that we were standing on. When I looked to my left, I was confronted by the only door I'd seen in the entire time I was there. It was this horrible door. It looked almost black, like it had been covered in mold. It was the most decayed thing we had seen in the entire building. And as we were standing there, and Janice was oohing and awing over all the clothes, I started feeling sick and sicker. And the whole thing was like a buzzing in my head. It just felt wrong. So Janice, excited by this closet, thinking there might be even neater stuff than what she'd already found, because she was picking up clothes and thinking how cool they would be, she opens the door, and it swings wide. She gasps in delight because there are coats and other things in there. I reel back in horror because what I saw almost makes my mind shudder. There was a body hanging in this closet. An old man. His clothes were ripped and torn, and his head was hanging down, and you could see that he had been there for days. At least it looked like it to me. His skin was all mottled and dark. And as I looked at him, he looked up. He raised his head, and these filmy, marble-like eyes stared into mine, and his mouth started opening as if he would speak. I screamed and ran, jumped out the window on the second story, hit the ground running. Janice yelling after me out this window, not having seen what I've seen, so she doesn't know what's going on. She just knows I've been twitchy and I've been weird. All of a sudden, as I'm running to the car, I've got about 15 or 20 yards from the house. I flew backwards, stopped, as if something had reared before me and hit me in the face. She saw me just stop, like there was something in midair that she couldn't see, and fall over backwards. My nose was bleeding, my ears were ringing, I was half conscious and out of my mind with fear. She came clambering down the skeletal structure on the side of the building where that elevator had once stood, for what else could it have been? And she comes running up to me, and she's now very afraid, and she's dragging me. The fear has totally engulfed her too. And as we both are sobbing and I'm half retching, we get back to my car. I can't even drive at first, and Janice didn't have her license, but she tried, and she got us out of there as fast as we could, nearly running into several mailboxes. Everything out there looked decayed. We hadn't heard any sounds while we were there, but as we drove off, as soon as the house fell out of sight, all the sounds of the cicadas and the birds came back. My head started to clear, and I knew that what had happened wasn't normal. It wasn't just a trick of my mind, some delusion that was playing with me. Oh no, something was in that house. I don't know how long it had been there or what its intentions were, but I knew it was not friendly. It was evil. It made my soul sick to even think of it. A couple weeks later, Janice wanted to go back and take some other friends. So we drove outside of Atascocita. We drove towards the lake, and we drove down all these roads. We could have swore we knew exactly where it was, but we never found that house again, for which I was profoundly grateful. I will never go looking for that house, that terrifying crumbling building with its pentacle on this wall and its dead things inside that no one could see but me. No, that was not right. Something was terribly wrong there. I never found out the story behind the house, what had happened to the people who lived there and why it was now abandoned. But sometimes, late at night, I'll think about that house, and I'll wonder, is it still there? Has anything else happened? Why did we never hear about it? Why did we never know? We were all so interested in ghosts. We just went because it was a weird place, not because we knew it was haunted, but haunted it was. Haunted or something worse. I wanted to share that story to show you that things do go bump in the night, or on bright spring afternoons. You never know where things like this are lurking. You never know when something could find you in the dark. All you know is when to run, and even then, sometimes it's not fast enough. Thank you for joining me tonight as I confess some dark secrets and tales that weighed on me. Perhaps you have some of your own. Please, feel free to share it. The fire's still burning after all. And the night might be dark, but at least we're not alone. At least we have each other. That makes me feel so much safer to know I have you all. To know I have you listening, watching, waiting. Sweet dreams, gentle viewers, sweet dreams.